All right, here we go. Law and Sporter Legal Podcast. We've got a guest in here. AJ Perez is with us from Front Office Sports. We'll talk about Front Office Sports in just a little bit. Adam Hill, Justin Watkins, our attorney, is in here. If you guys get a chance, the tweet just went out, so if you guys can retweet it, we'll get some people, get their attention that we're doing our legal podcast tonight. I will be in and out of the room. But I will start with this because I like to play producer sometimes. Oh, we've got a new share feature. Okay, we'll have to figure that out. You guys were just talking about Central California, and Fresno came up, and then there was a mention of Bakersfield. Why Bakersfield? Explain why we were talking about Bakersfield.
You found it. Look at this.
That's awesome.
It's good. Well, I think AJ brought it up first. I referenced the fact that this was one of the two. This was from the Bakersfield Observed column. And then they ran something in the paper, basically saying I'm not welcome back. But this one a friend passed along a column by a sports writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. It wasn't really a column. It was just a complete mockery of everything. I like, before Adam Hill trips on his own judgmental smugness, it might be the nicest thing anybody's ever said about me. So I'll take
really
that.
Accurate too.
Yeah,
so accurate.
It's true. Everything I said was accurate in the story that I wrote. I didn't make anything up. We asked where. Now listen. You can blame the people if you want, but we asked hey, is there any nice restaurants open? And they sent us to the Sizzler. That's fact. That's not me making fun of Bakersfield. That happened.
That's next to the Barnes & Noble. I know where that's at.
Yeah, plumbing issues at a local hotel were even cited as further evidence of the dismal state of our community. Yeah, yes, there was a huge bug issue, and the plumbing wasn't working at the Marriott. I've never seen it like that before. It's crazy. Everything in the story was true, so you can get mad. You can get mad about this. No, actually, somebody more than one people emailed this to me. It was one of the more proud moments of my journalism career. But yeah, it was great. Trip over my own personal smugness. Yeah, yes, I'm better than you.
Judgmental smugness.
You're right. Sorry, I got that one wrong.
Yeah, I was an intern there covering Cal League baseball. That was this.
It's bringing back memories.
Uh-oh. We lost AJ.
Boy. Oh no! Already?
The stadium they built where they had to push the game times back. So
of course, yes, it's a disaster. And one of my favorite things, I remember this because I'm just all these things are popping back in my mind right now. I don't even have to find the story that I wrote. There was 30 people at the game, maybe less than that. Nobody was there. There was 1,000 parking spots, and they had the guard guarding Buckingham Palace outside, marching back and forth to make sure nobody was parking. 1,000 spots. Nobody was there. What are we doing? It was insanity. The whole thing was nuts.
Back in my high school days, the wrestling days, when I was looking at schools to wrestle at, Bakersfield's in the Pac-12, Pac-10 back then. And they had a good wrestling program. And my dad was a wrestling coach at Western High School for a long time. And one of his wrestlers had gone down there. And he's like, hey, man, you should think about wrestling here. Went down there and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I don't care. They can pay for my whole school. I'm not going to school there. I can't do it.
There was the only assumption that I made in the whole story, because it was almost all just fact. We were getting gas on the way out of town. I would be willing to bet. I don't have any proof of this. There was a meth deal that went down, and I could have swore it was a mother buying it from her son. It was about a 50-year-old woman and a 25-year-old guy, and they looked exactly alike. And they met at a gas station and exchanged meth for cash. Now, I don't have any proof that was the mother, but I'd be willing to bet that it was. So that one was an assumption. Man. But yeah, that was also in my story.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but yeah, I've been through Bakersfield in, oh man, it's probably been 4 or 5 years. Like I said before, I can't talk too much crap because my cousin's a judge there in town, or in Kern County. So I know you want to get wrath from the family for that. But this is a legal podcast, so
you're also allowed to curse. So.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I'm not going to curse.
Okay.
I'll try not to. But
it's
been. I lived there 3 months. I met my wife there, so that was positive. And got her. And I was only an intern though, and it was her first job out of Sac State. So I had to go back to school, to my state school. So
I will say that the gas station story. I was going through New Mexico to drive to El Paso to go to the Sun Bowl to watch Oregon State play. And we stopped in this random gas station in New Mexico somewhere. And I went in to go get like a snack and use the bathroom. Another dude went in. There was 4 of us on the car trip. And we came out of there. I know the feeling, Adam. And I was like, they definitely kill people in that gas station. Like they have bodies in the cooler in the back, man. That was the strangest, most eerie thing. Like you walked in there, no high, just sizing you up. Is this dude worth killing? And I was just happy to get
like
out of there.
Like the gas station scene from No Country for Old Men.
Yes. Yeah. It was very much like that.
Yes.
There's a gas station right off the 5. Off Stockdale in Bakersfield. It's about 15 miles out of Bakersfield, only 20 miles along the 5. And the prices there are 3 times higher than Bakersfield.
Of course.
They just get it's like literally $6 a gallon. But if you go to Buttonwillow, like 5 miles away, it's back down to $2.50, $3.
Buttonwillow.
It's
nice.
Yeah, a little Buttonwillow reference.
I will give Bakersfield credit on one thing. Last spring break, I took my kids on an RV trip, and we went up the coast, went to Yosemite, and came back down through Bakersfield back to Vegas. And so it was over a week. We made about 5 RV resort stops. Bakersfield was the nicest. It had each little parking spot had its own orange tree that you could pluck and have the oranges. It was the nicest one.
Right, because the richest people in town live in RVs. Yes, of course. Of course it was the best.
Wow.
And you know that's the truth because what I've heard is the highest rated RV resort in the United States is in Pahrump.
Oh,
there you go.
It gives you all the proof you need.
You haven't been?
No.
It's good.
So I wanted to start out with a quick sports take because Adam started annoying me, and maybe someone else can fight the fight because I'm just tired of fighting him. There was the news got released today that Justin Herbert is the Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Vic Tafer was on with us, a guy from The Athletic who covers the Raiders, and Adam and Vic both say that Herbert shouldn't have been the Rookie of the Year. It always goes to quarterbacks, and that it should have been Justin Jefferson. So I don't know. I'll go around the room. AJ, you got any thoughts?
Not on this one.
I tried to loop you in. Justin, you're a Chargers fan. I mean, I still think you can be objective. He's the Rookie of the Year.
I mean, it's hard to say that the quarterback that broke every single rookie quarterback record that there was shouldn't be the Rookie of the Year. If Jefferson had broken every rookie receiving record, maybe we'd be there. He did break one record, but not all of them. I mean, Herbert's season is unprecedented. You have to give it to him.
Well, then make it Best Rookie Quarterback Award.
No, like I just said, if Jefferson had been the best,
quarterback's more important than wide receiver.
But shouldn't you be compared to people that are playing this season? Like, well, Justin Herbert came in. Hold on, Justin Herbert came in and had a great season, right? Nobody thought he could have this season. So much better than people thought he could be. He was very, very good. Pro Football Focus, which do I put too much stock in it? Probably, but I do think that they do a really good job. He was, I thought he was 16th or 17th. He was the 15th best quarterback in the league. That's incredible. That's a great job. Way to go. Like, nobody thought you could do that. Dude, great. Justin Jefferson was, according to them, now I think he's a little lower. I thought he was about the 5th best receiver in the league. They have him as the number 2 receiver in the entire league. The 2nd best receiver in the full league. Like, that to me is who should win. If you're that good compared to the rest of the guys at your position in the league right away, at a position that traditionally struggles, to come right in off of college and play, and he's the second best player in the league at that position, how do you not give it to him?
Well,
because,
you got a fact
because the position is not that important. Quarterback is more important. If wide receiver were important, you'd have wide receivers making $45 million a year.
That's fine.
And on top of that,
that's a fact. It's a fact all year long that you have to have a good quarterback to be a good team. And now you want to make the case that a wide receiver should get the same consideration as a quarterback. Come on.
Yeah,
and there's tons of wide receiver injuries this year too. So to say, put him in this season when you've got like no Michael Thomas, right? Like he wasn't put. I'm sure he wasn't even in their top 15, right? He's a way better player than him. Right. There's a number of different receivers that didn't play the full season, either because of COVID or injuries or what have you. So you can't just cherry pick it. It's a rookie award. That means from my perspective, you look at what rookies are capable of, and he had the best rookie season of any quarterback ever. If Jefferson had the same accolades, say best wide receiver rookie ever, then you're having a conversation. But it's a rookie award. It's not an MVP award. It's not the most valuable rookie award.
Who was the best rookie?
Yeah, Herbert.
Yeah, it was Jefferson. Jefferson was the best rookie. He just was.
If you want to go the advanced stats, look at wins over replacement. Okay. I don't know what it is, but look at it. And I would.
But I mean, I'll almost guarantee you that Jefferson won right there. But I'll try to find it if we're talking about something else.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem. You started with the narrative pretty early on, going anti-Herbert, so I don't really buy anything you say on Justin Herbert. So, but you know what? I'll give credit to Adam. This is his approach.
He had one bad month.
You are pump the brakes guy on quarterbacks. You always tell everyone, do not go crazy until they're 3 or 4 years in. You told us that with Baker Mayfield. He regressed second year, so maybe Herbert next year is just mediocre. So we'll see.
He had a bad month, but he was good most of the season.
Hey, Adam, are the Raiders going to make a push for Deshaun? If they got Deshaun, they might get me a little bit because I hate our quarterback. Right. Well, I shouldn't say ours. The Raiders quarterback. Las Vegas's quarterback.
I mean, I think every team's going to make a push for him, and as I think they should. Now, David Arnett was not going to win Rookie of the Year. So, yeah, every team should be making a push for him except for the Chiefs. And maybe, as I said, by the way, am I that anti-Chargers and Herbert? That's what I said. The Chargers are the only other team that could even make a case to not be pursuing Deshaun Watson. The Chargers can make a case that they shouldn't be pursuing him.
Right.
And the Chiefs shouldn't. Every other team should be pursuing him. Every other team.
Herbert's about the contract too, though.
Yeah, of course.
You would think dealing Lamar Jackson would be a better deal than getting Deshaun?
As much as I love Lamar Jackson, if you can get Deshaun Watson, yeah. So I think Lamar Jackson he's like right now probably 7th, 8th. He's right around there. Deshaun Watson is 3rd. Just like I said, the highest I'll accept the ceiling on Josh Allen right now, I don't think he is. But say he's 4th best in the league. At best, I think he's 7th. But if he's 4th and you have a chance to get the 3rd, you should probably try to get the 3rd.
But Lamar Jackson's ceiling is 1st. I mean, he won the MVP. His ceiling is there.
So is Deshaun Watson.
Right. So if they have the same ceiling, would you really give up assets and Lamar Jackson to get Deshaun Watson? I don't think if I was Baltimore, I wouldn't be looking into that deal.
Not necessarily, but Lamar is going to get paid, and that's going to change the trajectory. And Deshaun's
already getting paid.
I know. What is right? But the reason that you would make the trade, it's all. I mean, it all plays in. Like everybody talks about the trade for Stafford for Goff, and they had to give up that much because of the contract and everything else there. So it'd be confusing. You'd have to look at what the details are. But yeah, I would at least talk about it for sure. I would have that discussion.
I think those 3 are safe from the discussion. I agree with you. Everybody else should go after them. If the Raiders got them, I would consider not rooting against them on Sundays.
Wow, it's big.
Yeah,
he's looking to change. He needs Carr to go bye-bye. All right, first legal story up. Chicken heist, according to 7 ABC in L.A. Chicken heist. Armed man demands food from Roscoe's after he's denied service for not wearing masks. So he got turned away for not wearing a mask, and he went back and robbed him. Thoughts on this one, Justin? Thoughts on this one, AJ?
AJ, why don't you go first on this one?
Oh yeah, I'll go this one. Yeah, I actually I saw this last night. It was it was a wild story just to go back for the chicken and the waffles. I don't know if that's his motivations wouldn't be what mine would be if I would also wear a mask. But it seems nuts to do. This is it's a pretty major crime to go back there and get that and not go for money and other stuff that he could have gone after. So I don't know. I would just it seems like a kind of a waste of a felony there.
AJ, have you eaten at Roscoe's?
Oh, I love chicken. Love Roscoe's.
So it's worth
really good.
If you can't get the food, if you can't get it because you won't wear a mask and you really don't want to wear a mask, I think it's worth going back. You got to go get it.
I got to check the website out. I'm sure there's Uber Eats or Grubhub you can just wait out in your car. Just have the Grubhub guy bring it out. There's ways around this.
That's fair.
Yeah, his big mistake obviously is going with the gun because the chicken and waffles themselves, if you just stolen those, they aren't valued enough for this to be a felony. It would have been a misdemeanor. But then when he used the gun, now it's a felony. Definitely not worth the chicken and the waffles for jail time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I've been to at least 2 locations, so I know it's good stuff. And everybody tries to copy them, and they're so horrible. The IHOP ones, have you tried those? Like freaking put chicken nuggets on top of your freaking waffles. It's not the same. And so I understand. I love Roscoe's. It was probably the best place. I would live in Long Beach to eat after going to the bars, especially. But it was like I don't know. It seems like that's a lot of jail time to do or prison time to do for some food.
I'll tell you this.
He almost made his way out of there before he had to go back and grab some syrup. The story said, he almost forgot the syrup.
I don't even know what restaurants are open or not anymore in Vegas because I haven't been out that much. But Hash House is maybe as close to not replicating it, but I love their chicken and waffles. I love Roscoe's. I don't love many places. Hash House is really good for chicken and waffles. I might go back there to steal.
This just goes to my added bad food takes. I have a string here going for quite some time. I'm not a chicken and waffles guy. I love fried chicken. I love waffles. I don't like them together.
Wow.
It's just
now
I know.
What
I know.
Did this guy when he went back? I think I asked this earlier, but when he went back, did he wear a mask to go rob the place?
No.
Or he wouldn't. He wouldn't wear it to eat there, but I'm gonna put it on to steal.
No, that would have been great.
I know it's coming later, but some of the insurrection. This guy has some parallels here on this with the insurrection people.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
there's some overlap.
He's still at large though. They haven't identified him, even though on video he's not wearing a mask.
Who's gonna turn him in? Would his buddies turn him in? Would you turn him in if your buddy did this? I don't know.
No, but I would make him. I'd make him go get me. I'd make him go get me some more chicken and waffles, though. Bro, I'm not going to turn you in, but you better give me some.
Oh, you better not eat those chicken and waffles, then you become accessory after the fact.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Just for enjoying the spoils.
Yes.
Hold on.
Protecting them.
A Roscoe's conspiracy.
But wait. Because you said earlier the value of the chicken and waffles alone wouldn't be a problem, right? It's a minor offense because the gun was used. That's why it becomes a major offense. But if the spoils that you enjoy, you're still
bro,
tied
I'm not
into the gun.
I'm not going to turn you in. Give me some of the chicken. You're accessory after the fact. You're protecting his identity. You're protecting the crime itself in exchange for the chicken.
So it relates. So then my crime relates to the gun, not just to the chicken and waffles.
Oh yeah, you're on board for the whole thing.
What if I don't know? That changes it, right? If he brings it home and he's like, "Hey, I got some chicken and waffles," awesome.
Yeah, accessory after the fact is it does require mens rea, so you do have to know. It has to be an intentional act. Yep.
See, AJ, we take ridiculous stories and we actually make legal issues out of them.
Yeah, if we'd used a baseball bat, we'd been much better off. I think California still has the enhancement for use of a firearm, even if you don't fire it during a robbery or pretty much any crime.
Right.
You're saying, wait, so is a knife okay?
Better than a gun. A firearm is totally different.
So I don't know specifically California. Oh, anybody's going to have is going to elevate the crime based on use of a deadly weapon. So that's the definition, right? But California has specific gun-related crimes that you get tack-ons. So that's what AJ's talking about. So you're going to be in trouble either way. I think even with a knife, it's a felony. But maybe if you went in there unarmed and threatened with his fists, probably be misdemeanor.
Yeah, it's pretty much anything by like potential lethal force. I think it would be you're the lawyer, but that's kind of like when I was covering cops in courts in California and stuff. That's what I remember.
Sorry, AJ, I pretend to be a lawyer now too, so you can. No, as Steve asked here, how good does a restaurant have to be for you to go back?
You're like really hungry. You got turned down, and you're just like, all right, I'm done. Fuck this. I'm gonna rob this place. Like, what's the food joint that you are fired up to go and just get it yourself?
I'm gonna say any place with alcohol because I'm probably going to jail for a while, or prison, or eventually. Right. So I want to have a few shots of something. So pretty much any place that has hard liquor. If I'm going away for a while, probably gonna get caught. So I'm pretty open there.
Justin, chat room. What's a restaurant that just makes it worth it? You're like, screw it. Gonna rob the place. Anything?
I'm not a
foodie. Someone's gotta say In-N-Out. Come on, nobody? Really?
The only thing I can think of that I like go crazy over, and this is so far off the mark, is I love the 49er flapjacks at the original House of Pancakes. Not IHOP. The thin and chewy pancakes are like
so bad.
It's such a bad take. I know. I get it. But I'm just not a foodie like that. So I don't know.
So your pancakes over waffles too then?
Oh yeah. Pancakes waffles are the bottom, French toast up top, pancakes in the middle. Actually, I put crepes above waffles, but I'm not turning down a waffle. I'm not saying I'm turning down a waffle.
Fancy.
So ridiculous.
Anything that can take syrup, I'm all about syrup. Yeah. All about syrup.
I would go take the mac and cheese at Carson Kitchen for sure. It's so good.
The what? The mac and cheese.
The mac and cheese at Carson Kitchen. Anything they make at Carson Kitchen. But yeah, the mac and cheese there, dude, incredible.
Oh, you can enter off the alleyway too, the cool little courtyard in the back. You might not even have to use a weapon.
Don't give away my plan.
Ari says, are we robbing them because the food's so good or because they screwed us? It's kind of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anybody here besides you been thrown out of a restaurant or a bar? Am I the only one?
No. Yeah.
A bar.
Yes. Bars.
Bar.
Yes.
Yes. Come on.
Yeah.
Restaurant with here in Virginia, you have to sell a certain amount of food to have a bar to sell liquor. So they're all the same. That's
a good point.
Especially hard during the pandemic. So, but that's. Yeah, but a couple of places who thrown me out have went out of business within 6 months. They were bankrupt, so it was bad karma. Bad karma. One was a misunderstanding. Someone waitress. I was with my best friend next to me, and the bartender thought I said something really vulgar, which I never would because I was sober. And not that I would say something that bad if I was drunk, and she had the bouncer throw me out, and I was like, "What the heck happened?" My buddy's like, "I don't know. You asked for a drink." I'm like, "That's what I thought." The other one was some bouncer gave me attitude. I was not didn't have that, so kind of got tossed out for that.
That happens.
Yeah.
Oh, I got thrown out at Moon Doggies in San Diego and during a bachelor party because I walked in and they told me we were in there early and then 9 o'clock hit and it turned to a club, and so they went around all the tables and they're like, you have to remove your hat, and I'm like, and do what with it? They're like,
yeah, San Diego
take it off.
That. Now I noticed I was I had to go back to my hotel and drop my hat off. Well, 15 years ago. I was like, really?
So I was like, I kind of gave them some flack about it, and they're like, remove the hat or go. So then I walked up to the front door and I threw the hat in the garbage, and they're like, you know what, just go. It's like I kicked out there.
That's not. That wasn't even by force, man. That's easy.
Oh yeah, no, I've never been thrown out by force. It's
that was only once for me, but for that. But But yeah, I was thrown out of the Garlic Festival though when I was about 22, 23 years old. That was
Gilroy.
Hell yeah, my hometown. So they threw me out. They threatened to trespass me. They put 2 big black X's on my wrists with this big like marks a lot, like huge one marker. And they said if I came back in, they would give me for trespassing. So I sprinted home about a mile, got Comet Cleanser, got it off, put a Gilligan hat on, some sunglasses, and went back in. So
I think they got legal trouble there, marking you up. They don't get the right to brand you. You don't get to wear some scarlet letter.
It's Gilroy. It's Gilroy PD. So it's not really.
You're not going to win that fight.
No. I've been.
Yeah, Brady, I was just on that. Yeah, you don't get to mark my hand without my consent. Yeah, that's battery. That's assault and battery.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
That would. Yeah, that was. I didn't. I didn't get in trouble that time with them.
So if I missed it, I apologize. The charges against the guy who robbed the Roscoe's, it depends on how much he got away with. I mean, obviously part of it's the gun. So what's like the max he's facing?
Oh, it's going to be mandatory jail time. So it's
Right.
a felony. And so a felony charge is a minimum of a year and they have to serve. There's no straight parole on a felony. There has to be some level of service. And by the story, it doesn't sound like he hit anybody or hurt anybody. That's going to be helpful. But the major factor here is if he hadn't used the gun, if he hadn't used a weapon and just taken the waffles or the chicken, he didn't take any waffles, but taking the chicken, then that's below the threshold on value for felony to misdemeanor. Most states or locales, it's $250 or more gets into aggravated there's going to be different levels of misdemeanor depending on the jurisdiction, and then go into level of felony if it goes up to like 500 or more. He's clearly under those thresholds, so it would have been a simple misdemeanor. But then the use of the gun puts it into the felony category.
All right. So the joke is writing itself. Let's move on to, I guess, more serious crimes, but I have a feeling that some of these people won't even get a year. First up, because I already wrote out the joke, but when this guy is involved in the process, will he get released without bail and get to stay with his mom? Because you've got a case here. Harrisburg woman charged with stealing Pelosi's laptop will stay with mom awaiting trial. And I was looking for the bail information. I'm not even sure there was any sort of bail involved in this. Is this normal? Because it seems outrageous that every week we come in here and we talk about the Capitol rioters, the insurrectionists, and it just constantly feels like they're not going to get anything.
So like we talked about on air, this is a misdemeanor charge. It's not a felony charge. And no. This is the laptop. I'm sorry. This should be a felony charge. So this is somewhat unique. The problem is there's a balancing of factors that's going on. From my estimation, this is my read of it, is throughout the United States, what they're trying to do are a couple different things. One, they're trying to remove bail bond systems because they are inherently inequitable in economic status. So poor people who commit a minor offense with a low bond that can't pay for it end up serving time in jail, awaiting their hearing and release. And typically, once they plead guilty, they're released for time already served because they've been in there for 30 or 60 or 90 days for some petty offense. And now they've lost their job, maybe lost part of their family, what have you. And so what they've found, studying this over the last couple of decades, is the rate of recidivism of them committing another crime is much higher if they are not a productive member of society, if they've lost their job, if they've lost their family, if the reason for staying there is all but gone. So there is a movement to remove those bonds. And if a person is a productive member of society, now we can differ over what that means, but in the eyes of the court, it's sort of a scorecard. Are they employed? Do they have family here? Do they have like children and parenting obligations? Those things show a lack of likelihood to flee the jurisdiction and go somewhere else, which is what bond is all about. It's meant to keep somebody there instead of running off and having a bounty hunter come chase you down. So if they have to go to work the next day, the likelihood is they're probably not going to flee, and you don't need bond. So there is this movement in the criminal justice system to keep people employed, keep people productive during their criminal process so that the rate of recidivism goes down. Here, the lady is 22 years old, is a student, and the mom has taken responsibility. She's got a house arrest bracelet. She can't leave except to go to school or to work or to any medical procedures. Taking my whole bias away from the riots and what's happening there and how I hate it and all of that, putting that aside, that's the kind of thing you want to see the justice system do, which is not ruin somebody's life to the point where they're likely to become repeat offender. But that comment is true, right? I mean, you don't see this benefit of the doubt as often, or in some places at all, for people of color, which is why you've had to see states enact the no bond requirement as a part of law, because when it's left to the discretion of the judges, the inherent biases come into play. And we're going to talk about this later, but the studies find this, people who are good looking get less punishment, get easier sentences. People who are of similar color and background of the judge get better treatment than people who aren't. And so in this movement of removing bond has been a objective scorecard that you have to follow, and that does not allow for discretion where inherent biases can come into play.
Did you have a question, AJ? I was going to throw some out.
Oh, yeah, no, I just want to see, Justin, has it surprised you the different districts have, obviously under the same federal law, they've handled this a lot differently. Some of the charges are different, some are similar, some are just trespassing, some are actually stealing stuff and defacing the Capitol and other doing violence on top of that. Have you seen it? What does that say about the judges appointed in these districts and by these previous presidents? How much does it play a role in kind of how these people are let out on bail and not?
That's a really difficult question to answer with specificity. I'd say this: judges matter. They're people, right? And to the extent that they are given discretion in the law, then you are going to have inequitable outcomes. That's not to say that we should remove discretion completely, because I think it is important to have discretion. But it's up to the lawmakers where they see inequities to ensure that discretion is removed so that you have equal treatment. Here, in theory, all of the Capitol rioters should be prosecuted by the same federal attorney general and their office, and they should be ensuring that they're seeking like punishment across the board. They can't control what judge gets it and where they go with it. But, generally speaking, first-time offend. I don't know the criminal history of all these different people. First-time offenders are going to get easier time.
A lot of first-time offenders, yeah.
Yep.
Especially
younger people. Yep. Mm-hmm. Younger people are typically going to get an easier time in the law on their first. And, we're going to talk about a story a little bit later, but I think that there is this push by sympathizers to the rioters to characterize this as they are victims of being duped by a major misinformation campaign on the part of the, alt-right, I'll say media, and the president and QAnon and all of these different sources, so that they are going to go into these courts and say, man, now that you tell me all this stuff, like I see it, but where I was in that mental state, I couldn't see it then. And, I'm sorry. And, I won't do it again. And if the judge believes they are truly contrite about it and remorseful, they're going to, again, get more leniency. And last thing, I don't know, but if they're cooperating with the authorities, if they're playing nice, if they're helping identify people, if they're telling their story truthfully, that all matters in the prosecution as well. If you stonewall, you're going to get harsher treatment. It's true.
How long can they wait, Justin, for I know they, a lot of these cases, it's like they're arresting them, they're finding them. They're like, okay, this person, took a podium or whatever. But they're also, maybe there's some kind of, plotting, charge that could come in down the road. Like, how long can they wait as they're trying to make these cases after people have been arrested?
Well, arraignment's going to happen. I don't know specifically in Virginia and the DC area, like what their local rules are, but typically here, if you're charged, your arraignment's going to happen within 72 hours, right? You get a chance to say, to challenge what's happening and the charges that are being levied. Typically, nobody gets out on that 72 hours unless it's an absolute mistake. If there's probable cause to move forward, then they'll move forward. But to answer your question broadly, they can add charges as late as they want, so long as it's within the statute of limitations. So that could be, if they're gathering information and they're making a case against one of the main organizers, they have years to do that. Do you want to do that? No. But if you grab some of these lower level people and they could point you in the right direction about who the organizers are and who the big fish really are, generally speaking, in all criminal rings, the lower level offenders that cooperate are going to get very friendly treatment.
What is this?
So Brady, typically statute of limitations, it depends on the crime, but typically misdemeanors are going to be a year. Felonies are going to be 2, 4, or more, depending on what kind of felony. Like in some states, like sexual assault now has no statute of limitations. Murder has no statute of limitations. There are going to be murder charges that come down out of this. I mean, people died, so that can happen at any time. There is no statute of limitations that apply to that. But if we're talking about unlawful entry on a restricted premises, I don't know the specific answer, but my guess is 1 or 2 years.
So this story is about Bullhorn Lady. They've been looking for her for a while. They found her. She's doing interviews now. I think she's 30 and a mother of 8. Does it say they're a parent of 8? The story, you can see the title, A Pennsylvania Mother's Path to Insurrection, How Claims by Giuliani Jones Spurred a Parent of 8 to Become One of the Capitol Riot's Biggest Mysteries and a Fugitive from the FBI. The video of her, she's very active in instructing and directing. Now, her claim is, I wasn't doing any of that. I kind of got caught up in the moment. I feel like this is another case, though, where she's going to throw herself at the the mercy of the court and like, I'm a mom. Yeah, I don't care. You did what you did. Sorry, if your kids have to go into the system or the family's got to take care of them, got to punish these people. You got to send a message. You don't get a slap on the wrist because you got kids.
Yeah, this is one that it took her a while to track her down, but it was one of the earlier videos. It was kind of like she knew where to go and she knew where to tell the people to go. And so there were a lot of theories early on that she was getting instructions from or was getting instructions from somebody on the inside or had knowledge of the Capitol, because she seemed like they're breaking windows and she was directing people through windows where to go. It was very strange. And her face was out there. One of the earlier ones, like, find this woman. And then there were conspiracy theories, like it's not the same woman, and it was different hat. And it was one of the earlier people could, one of the many things. There's been so many stories you could write off this or follow. And it was one of them. It was like, she was definitely leading the way for at least a group out there. And there were hundreds, but she seemed to know where everything was, and then she bought in, obviously, to this whole conspiracy stuff.
Now she just doesn't want to be punished. So, it wasn't my fault. They told me that this happened and this happened. Oh,
yeah. The entitlement is just obscene. I was doing an interview for a story that actually ran this week. I was using a streaming service, YouTube TV, so I was like 20 seconds behind. The guy I was interviewing in Chicago was on cable. And he was just gasping, and I'm like, "What's going on?" I'm like, and then then I saw the guns being pulled out. I'm like, it was a strange day. I'm 30 miles away from DC here, but it was the biggest impact for us. Where I have some friends work for their local hotels, and they were all full of National Guard troops for the next couple of weeks. So. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're like I said, you're going to see a big push from a lot of people to say, like, hey, I was radicalized. It wasn't by my own volition. And, therefore I can't be responsible for my acts because I didn't have the necessary mens rea, the intent to do what I did because I had been brainwashed. And you could see how they're trying to develop that story here by pointing to her past history prior to Trump, her past social media postings, which were not radicalized in any way. She actually was against Trump in the first election, and that how it sort of really ramped up and radicalized during the pandemic. And the question is going to be, do courts, or if it goes to a jury, do they consider that when assessing the culpability of the person? Now, generally, trespass is not a mens rea requirement. It doesn't matter if you intended to or not. If you went there, you're there, and that's it. It's over. I don't care what you were thinking. There's a lot of case law on that. Well, I thought that was my land. Tough shit. It's not your land. You're going to jail or whatever the case may be. Trespassing, usually you don't go to jail, but in this instance, it's a very restricted space. I don't see that defense working on these lower level crimes of entering a restricted space. Now, where it gets really interesting from a legal standpoint is when these murder charges do come down, which are specific intent crimes. You intended your actions, and you intended your actions to either kill or impact severe bodily harm on somebody. You have to intend that to get into the first and second degree murders, not manslaughter. Manslaughter is merely negligence. But it'll be interesting to see whether or not any defendants in that sort of case would be successful in defeating the mens rea requirement in the eyes of the judge or the jury. Because the more people that come out with these stories, the more compelling it's going to be, right? When you have hundreds, when you have a large percentage of them, let's say 30%, that you could say, hey, look at this history. 30% of the people that went there were not radicalized. Look at their social media. They were normal people. The pandemic happened. The source of information was siphoned off into this little nook of the internet and off cable TV. And look what happened. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think a jury is going to buy that. I don't think a judge is going to buy that. I think that they're going to be held accountable for their actions.
Can whoever started the QAnon phenomenon online, can they be charged for all of this?
I don't know enough about what is specifically
on, the Central Valley a little more. So the bad side of Fresno.
Yeah. So I don't know enough about QAnon and the sort of postings that happen there to answer that question. Are there specific instructions given by who started QAnon? As the law currently states, a platform cannot be held responsible for the postings of its members. That's the current state of the law. So I post on Twitter, hey, Adam, or I send you a DM on Twitter. Hey, Adam, me and you, let's go over here. Let's kill this person. Twitter's not responsible for that. Okay. Now, if QAnon had became less of a platform and more of a misinformation where they siphoned through the postings and only kept some and highlighted others and pushed you into a certain belief system, got you might sort of get there. I literally know nothing about QAnon. I don't know where to find it. I've literally never seen it, so it's hard for me to say.
I got a question, Jessica. What would a conviction of Trump in the Senate, would that help any of the defense out there for these people? Would that bolster any of their cases that they were kind of influenced by this, the president at the time?
I think it would hurt it, actually, if anything, right? Like, you were told to go do this and you did it. It shows a planning and intent.
But
right?
he was a whole person of power. I was just like, president told me to do it. He was the president.
No, I don't see that. Right? Like that doesn't work in the law. Like if my boss tells me to do something that's illegal and I do it, I'm still responsible. Now, can the boss also be responsible? Yes, but it doesn't alleviate me of my responsibility. Now, that's the law. In practice, what happens there, right? If I'm the pawn in the chess game, typically the authorities are going to come to me and be like, dude, you're a pawn in all of this. Tell us everything you know so that we can get the king or the queen, as the case may be. And yes, you're going to be in some trouble, but not as much trouble because we know you know, it's not really your design. It's not really your plan. You're sort of taken advantage of, but you just don't get off scot-free in those situations unless you're really providing a whole hell of a lot of evidence, and you're going into like witness protection, that kind of stuff.
Did you sort of cover what Joe Jayhawk 1 has there? House impeachment manager.
Yeah, they could.
Manager should call these people to testify against Trump.
Yeah, but they would take the fifth.
The fifth, yeah, I would. Yeah. So I would think
criminal charges.
Yeah, I would. Unless they're. Yeah, I don't see why they would. It's going to happen next month, so their cases won't be resolved, or in a couple of weeks actually. So their cases won't be resolved by then. So they would have to think
One of the funny things about that, though, is actually the House has the ability to provide them with immunity for testifying, and then they wouldn't be able to be federally charged. It's like almost an end around pardon. So they wouldn't be able to be charged based on any of the statements that they made.
Politics, yeah. There.
If you take immunity, you can't plead the fifth, right? Because then you can't incriminate yourself.
That's right.
Along those lines, I'm sure you saw there was a letter from the Congress that asked Trump if he would testify, which I found interesting because they can subpoena him if they want to. But they, as part of it, they said a failure to answer the letter would be looked at in a negative in terms of your case. Like, we'll assume the negative out of your case if you do it. Can you just? I guess they can make whatever rules they want, right? But that one didn't make a lot of sense to me.
In a court of law, that's not going to fly, right? The Fifth Amendment cannot be used. Your silence to testify or your refusal to testify based on the constitutional protections against self-incrimination cannot be used as a basis to imply guilt. But this isn't. It's not a judicial trial, right? It's a political act. So they get to set their own rules for trial. They could say it's going to look on them negatively, but who knows how? I mean, they need 2/3, right? So you can't say all of the jurors, all of the Senate is going to look at it negatively. It's a little bit odd to say that, but if they are saying, as authors of this letter, as the House impeachment managers, if you do that, that's the argument we're going to make. Totally fair.
That is funny though. Our next witness, Bullhorn Lady. Next, we'll have the QAnon shaman. QAnon shaman.
It's so ridiculous.
That would be a real clown show.
Yeah, of course.
Testify.
Of course, this jury's already made up their minds, and most I think most of the senators already know which way they're going to go, no matter what happens and what's presented. I'm guessing.
So while we're on this clown show, I was trying to think of a hypothetical, because Justin, as you know, like, I come up with the most obscure, weird things ever with my questions sometimes. But I was trying to think of a hypothetical to use, but I couldn't really think of one because I didn't want to make it political, but I kind of have to because it just came up. So the whole thing about the Congress the other day, or the Republican senators voting against the trial being even allowed. Like, this should not happen. He's out of office. Like, he's not in office anymore. It shouldn't be an impeachment. If there's anything, it should be in a court of law, because he's not here anymore, right? And so I would imagine his lawyers would make the same argument of, hey, you don't have jurisdiction. You can't do this here. This is not the proper place for this. So then could he then go, say they did charge him in a court of law. Again, I was trying to think of a hypothetical to do this, but they charge him with a court of law, and then his lawyers go to the court and they're like, no. He was in office. You got to try him in the Senate. And then they goes back and like, no. Court of law. Like, can you play with jurisdictions like that of like, hey, no, you have to send it back there. And then it gets back there, like, no, you have to send it back there. Or could they use it against you in the other court and say, no, you argue that it should be here, it's here?
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly try that strategy, but ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen, right? Like when they go to criminal court, if they were to go to criminal court, they'd say, you don't have jurisdiction, it's not proper forum, it needs to be an impeachment trial in the Senate. They could say, no, well, here's your letter that says no, and that absolutely will be used against you. But it also, as far as jurisdiction goes, doesn't matter what the parties want or think should happen for jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is either appropriate or not as a matter of law. I actually, in this instance, believe jurisdiction is appropriate in both contexts. Yeah. So the only belief that has ever, neither one of these has been challenged to the highest court. Let's start right there. It is an unresolved issue to say whether or not somebody can be impeached after they've already left office.
Well,
it has happened.
Even though it's happened, I was going to say
it's happened in our past.
Since it's happened, that's not precedent.
But it was never challenged, right?
Okay.
So a court has never interpreted the Constitution in this regard. So we have to start by saying we don't know. But most legal scholars in breaking down the Constitution and that section agree that it is appropriate because there is still a remedy that would apply. That is that the person cannot hold office again in the future. So that's one thing. I think it is appropriate to hold the Senate hearing. The other untested thing is whether or not a sitting president can be charged with a crime. This is Jim Comey all over again, right? All of his testimony. And they basically said, if he wasn't the president, would you charge him with a crime? And he says, yes. Why aren't you charging him with a crime? And it's because there's this Department of Justice memo from a decade or so ago that says, we believe a president cannot be charged with the crime while sitting in office. That's just a memo. That's just what they put. That's what their interpretation. That has also never been challenged in court. And so I also think that memo is incorrect. I don't think that that's right. The whole standing of the Constitution is that there are separations of powers. Nobody is above the law. And it does not say that the only recourse for a sitting president is impeachment. In fact, in the Constitution, it says that the impeachment does not prohibit any criminal charges that may be levied against the person either way. So the Constitution assumes that you can make criminal cases against a president or a federal office holder. So I think they could do both. I don't know if you'll see criminal charges go against Trump or not, but it would be interesting. And then a good point by Joe Jayhawk on the comments as well. There also is this added layer to this instance in which he was impeached while in office. The trial didn't happen till after. So you're in this sort of gray area between those two binary options. But either way, I think all three options, jurisdiction is appropriate. The interesting take on this is, and I was unaware of this until this all went down in this impeachment, this second impeachment. The House and Senate can vote on a resolution to prevent any person from holding federal office, and it does not require a 2/3 vote. It's only 50%. So if they lose the impeachment trial, will they then bring another resolution to prevent Trump from holding office again? I don't know. I don't know if they'll do that. They might be doing the Republicans a big favor if they do that. Not sure.
It's another reason why people around here want to make DC, for a long time, its own state, because we see what's going on in New York. Those state charges, he would not have been able to escape those if he had pardoned himself. And there was I'm kind of trying to find the story really quickly, but I saw one law professor saying there was a possibility where Trump could have already pardoned himself from some certain crimes and put it under seal, which wouldn't be unsealed until he gets charged. So that's, we don't even know what, but that's only a federal crime. State crime is obviously different. But if DC was an actual state, you'd face a little more a threat of some kind of punishment outside of what the Senate's doing.
That's right.
All right. So what do you guys think of the one last court story? And I'm not going to punch it up because TMZ kind of locks up the whole video. But what'd you make of this dude trying to hit on the judge? How much trouble can you get in there? And I know it doesn't sound like the right word, but is that like contempt of court? Like what's the deal if you start hitting on the judge?
Well, first of all, and Justin, does it matter that the judge is hot?
So judges are people, man, and you could try flattery if that's your thing. Yeah, it's certainly better than trying insults. I'll tell you that. So yeah, you could do it. The only way you would be held in contempt of court. Contempt of court is you violating a court order. So if the judge says, don't do that, and then you do it, that could be contempt of court. But just saying, yeah, and Brady's right. The judge was digging it. She smiled. She said, flattery will give you everywhere. And then was like, oh, wait, except here. Like she messed up. She messed up a little bit. But, hey, I'm just going to tell you, judges aren't, despite the black robes, man, they're not completely neutral. They're not without biases. They're not without, heartstrings that can be tugged upon and flatteries that can work. And I mean, that stuff matters. I mean, Ted Bundy was doing that kind of stuff all the time. Ted Bundy was doing his own trials and getting and was persuasive to the judges, and the judges liked him. It matters. Brady, to your question up above about the barring people from office, there's a Reuters article that just came out, like I think yesterday or the day before, that lays out that process. That one of the powers is preventing people from holding future office, and it's only a majority vote.
So, but you would say you wouldn't recommend just right off the bat hitting on the judge?
I don't know. I don't know the judge.
Okay. It's good. It's good.
You use whatever you got. If you think it's going to work, like if you got a lawyer who knows that judge and is like, hey, man, like say something nice, right? And it comes out that way. I don't know. I don't think it hurt him.
Well, I also don't think it was a strategy. Like, I think he generally was like, whoa, this judge is hot. Like, I'm going to say something. But if this happens, like we saw what happened, it was like a, kind of like she was kind of taken aback. Like she liked it. And then it was like, oh, wait, no, that's not how it's supposed to work. Like if this guy gets a less sentence than the prosecutor believes should happen, would that be grounds for appeal? That you'd be like, come on, man. Like, look what happened here.
Yep, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, or would it be grounds for the defense on the other side if the punishment came down more harsh? Yeah.
Okay.
Right? The judges are not supposed to be impacted by that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that they are. It's unrealistic to say they're not.
This is Florida, right?
Sure.
It was Florida, right?
Florida.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That makes sense.
It's Florida. It's its own world. Its own world. They do what they want down there, for sure.
Mark asked me, does that strategy work in personal injury cases? I think in all cases, your ability to relate and be liked by the judge, and more importantly, for what I do, the jury, is immensely important.
All right, so this is actually AJ's story. What's going on here? How purging of classes could cost Peloton big.
Yeah, it's this lawsuit has cleared a few hurdles. Still a few more to go before it gets class action certified as a class action. But it's one of them. It's progressed more than a lot of the other lawsuits against this. Back in 2019, more than half the catalog disappeared one day. This is all over a now settled dispute with the music industry. They were using a lot of popular artists, from Beyonce, who they've since signed as a ambassador, but a lot of the modern music, Madonna, a lot of that's not modern, but and dating myself here. So it's a lot of basically all the songs of the last 5-10 years. They're using a lot of those in the classes, and the record industry's like, you don't have rights to it, so you gotta knock it off. So they took all these classes off, and this one of the lawyers in the case was a user, and was on vacation, and where he was staying, it was to California, had a Peloton, and he logged into his account, and all the classes he used to do are gone. It was thought that was weird. He got no warning. The whole this is basically a false advertising claim using New York. They're trying, since Peloton's based in New York, they're trying to use New York state law, which is pretty, has a pretty high penalties compared to this was just a federal law case. They're trying to, so they're basically, they could, if doing my math, it's if 500,000 members at the time, if they were all wrong for 6 or 7 months, it's over $1 billion. There's the class is not going to be that, won't be that big. I think it was 2,700 people filed a arbitration because the TOS, the terms of service, which we all do, that the terms of service we have for everything we do, you click through that, all that stuff. The terms of service had an arbitration clause, and there's so many people filed, more than 2,700 people filed for arbitration. And Peloton's like, we can't. It would cost us way too much money to pay for these arbitration fees, because they're paying for their fees, they're paying for the person's fees and the arbitrator, and that would have been a pretty big chunk right there. So they said, screw it, you can sue us. So they've all there's been a few lawsuits. One in California was already tossed out, but this one's actually progressed. So
yeah, so like the major point that you get to, that's why this is an interesting class action case from the lawyer's perspective, is in copyright infringement, trademark infringement, in false advertising, in misrepresentation in advertising, it is a per incident damages. So every time that it ran, for every person that it ran for, is a separate incident. And so these things can get really big. When I was in law school, I worked for a law firm that their biggest case they ever had was this guy who sketched out drawings and he sold it to the Yellow Pages, and they would they would offer them to the advertisers in the Yellow Pages for like an auto mechanic. You have a set stock drawing, and he specifically on his contract said only for like this locale where I'm at, each one you have to pay separately for, but they ran it across the nation. And because they only assessed like a $10 fee, but the number of usages and the number of times that it happened was so drastic that the total damages were into the hundreds of millions of dollars. And so it was the biggest case that firm had ever had. Here, I think the class is going to be quite large. I do. I think that the false advertising is universal, right? You were advertising that you can ride along with all these classes. And let's take aside for a moment the music. Let's just say when I signed on, and I am a Peloton member, when I signed on, I believed I had this library of classes available to me. And for the most part, the music isn't what drives my selection. It's sometimes, but rarely. It's more about the instructor. And now all of a sudden I lose, 50% of the classes available for the instructor that I like. I think
it's
that's
just stop you just so and a lot of the instructors pick the same music, the same genre. So you're really taking out certain instructors more than others, because certain instructors are going to pick these songs that were actually labeled by the record industry as basically being used without authorization. So you're taking out a big chunk of those classes and for certain instructors.
Yeah, and anybody, I don't know if you guys are on Peloton, but anybody who's on Peloton knows the instructors are what drives the audience. I mean, anybody who's got a Peloton bike, you could ask them who their favorite instructor is, and they'll give it to you. Like, they know the names. They're a little bit of celebrities in the Peloton world. And if that instructor works for you, you stick with them and you find their old. It's not just current class. I go back in time and I try to grab their classes as I go back, because I feel like that's the one that's the best for me. So the music thing is one thing, but it's the catalog being gone that I bought into that I think is going to be the universal damage that applies to so many people. Because there's not going to be a person that you could say, or very rarely you're going to be able to find a person who didn't use the on-demand function for a past class. Almost everybody does that. So I think the class is going to be huge.
Justin's a Cody guy.
Cody? No, I think the best instructor is Matt Willers. he's like, although I think he went to the University of Oregon, which I don't like, but he's the most intense. I like Alex Trufant. He's awesome. I actually think some of the my favorite instructors are some of the women. I don't even know if anybody even cares about these names.
Robin or Allie.
Rob, I don't like Allie as much. Robin's hardcore.
I'm just looking at a list of most popular Peloton.
She's hardcore. She's hard, man. She's tough. Hannah Corbin's nice. I like her. She's cool.
Yeah, these instructors have become stars, and especially in their, a lot of them are actually represented by SAG-AFTRA, which Trump said he didn't want to be part of today. So and especially with Apple and all these other, companies coming into it and expanding, they're in demand. Some of these, they have it's interesting. They're like athletes. I wrote about one who's represented by Wasserman down in LA. So it's these that they can't sign the same deals athletes can, and they have some restrictions like athletes where they can't sign competing deals with they can't rep a different spinning bike or treadmill or something. But and they have brand limitations. We see that with Mirrorbot was purchased by Lululemon back last May or June, and then that was another. There's so many players in this market, and these instructors have become stars. Kind of like basically kind of not on par with athletes, but they're kind of reaching up maybe low level athletes with some of these contracts too.
What's interesting about this story that you did, AJ, is that I have noticed a difference in what the classes are sort of doing now, where clearly they've created partnerships with the artists. And like the last class I did, the instructor the whole time was talking about the background of this artist, like giving us the biography of the artist and how they chose this. And it like, for the first couple minutes, I'm like, okay, this instructor really likes this artist. And then I was like, I'm being sold some shit here, man. They are. This is an inside job right now. I'm getting the whole story of this one was Post Malone. I got the whole story of Post Malone. I don't even like Post Malone. I don't even know. I don't fucking care about Post Malone. I just want to ride a bike. Actually, that one wasn't riding a bike. It was CrossFit.
Hey, Brady, actually, I did a story on one who's into the. She's really African American instructor who's really into the BLM, and a lot of her rides are about messages, supporting, bringing out issues for people of color, and she's and to the credit of Peloton, they've supported her, giving her that platform.
Brady had a lot of questions about the insurrection because he's wanted. He stormed the Capitol.
Oh, Steve, you're on mute. Are you trying to talk? He's on mute again. Fucking 3 weeks in a row, bro. Come on.
I'm trying to cue up the video. All right. We go from Peloton to the opposite end of the spectrum. My type of place, Waffle House.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
How bad is it?
You haven't watched it?
No.
I haven't watched
it.
Oh,
dude. This is as good as it gets. And I think it was either Sean or Brady sent it to me the other day, I think. So I appreciate it, guys. But yeah, this is about as good as a Waffle House fight gets.
Oh yeah, okay, I get you.
Can I please get my goddamn phone? Somebody.
Bring that one up so we can pay for that one. Then you put up that phone.
Oh God, bro!
Why you was that phone? We better write a phone.
Oh.
Whoa. What?
Get my phone, we gotta go. Get off me, whore. Get off me, whore. Get off me, whore. Get the fuck off me, bitch.
Can I please get my
Was that the end?
Wow.
The guy had him in a chokehold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was a good.
Yeah.
That was a good chokehold.
It wasn't bad.
This probably wasn't this probably wasn't at noon, right? I'm sure this was
There it is. Look at
later
that.
in the day.
It's a good show.
That looks good. It will go unspoken. The titties being out. That's the last time we'll mention that. That was. I don't think Justin could figure out that they were tits because it was like 5 seconds that they were flopping around and he's like, whoa. I'm like, they're out, bro. They're out.
I was watching a different part of the fight.
Oh, really?
But they're blurred. But as somebody said, the blur is doing a lot of work.
I had no idea they were blurred. I just thought she had like giant areola. Man.
I mean, this is why you go to Waffle House, by the way.
Yeah.
No, I just can't.
God damn, that's a good one.
Did you say you've never been to a Waffle House, Justin?
Nope, I never have.
What?
And it doesn't look like I'm ever gonna go.
This is basically how it goes. Like,
I can't. I just can't. I don't want to know that this part of the world is out there. I just need to be shielded.
That part, it's like an entire. That's the region.
everywhere but Las Vegas.
I was
going to say, is AJ the only one who actually has Waffle Houses around him?
I'm like 3 miles away from
him,
so I'm
Got him,
Cracker
fellas.
Barrel's closer to me than Waffle House, and yeah.
Fuck.
No,
Yeah, but our closest one is like
we're
200.
In and out or Jack in the Box out here.
Where's our closest one?
I would trade.
Where's the nearest one? Arizona?
Yeah, like North Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Sad.
I think by the time I'm 90, In and Out could be close by.
I would trade. I'd trade In and Out. I'd trade In and Out for Waffle House.
Oh
Get
yeah,
out of here.
not even close.
No.
Yeah.
What?
We got all these burger places.
That's not that
here.
good.
You know. Yeah, sure. In and Out tastes good, but nothing like that ever happens. That happens like every Tuesday at Waffle House. That's great.
Oh, dude,
I've
just
never
go to
seen a
IHOP
In-N-Out.
on the
I've been
east
In-N-Out
side,
one.
dude. You'll see that shit.
It's not the same because
It's not.
the way because Waffle House, as you can tell, like you're basically eating in the kitchen. Like there's no difference.
Yeah.
Like everybody's just mingled together. There's just chaos. As I said, one day we were in one, and it was just a very normal thing that there's one waitress and one cook. They're obviously dating or at least having relations with each other, and then they get in a fight, and then she leaves. And we're like, who's taking the order? Nobody. Like, okay, this is what we're dealing with now. Like, that's how it rolls. That's just a Waffle House. That was in Elkton, Maryland, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's probably 130 minutes or probably 15 miles away. There's just they're clustered, man. They're just there's one up in Maryland about 30 minutes from me, and there's one 35 minutes from me. So like 5 minutes apart. I don't know.
Adam, what started this whole thing? I couldn't understand. Did they take her phone?
Somebody had a phone that they weren't supposed to have. I can't. I've watched it 100 times. I can't figure it out.
Well, she kept saying, "Give me my phone back." But so if they took her phone, well, no, because the other part of it was get off the phone. I don't know what the hell was going on.
I think that they wanted to order and they were taking a phone order.
Oh, nice.
Which does like that is a really that is a really like I understand that businesses have done a good job of like, hey, we're going to take deliveries and we're going to take phone orders and all this other stuff. Like it puts such unnecessary stress on the employees of like now you're trying to deal with people coming in, you're trying to deal with customers, you want to help them, but you're also the phone is ringing off the hook. And then you've got all the Grubhub people coming, Grubhub and whatever, Uber Eats and all the delivery places, they're coming in to pick up food. So now, like, you've still got, like, one employee trying to handle all three different things. It's a mess. I know one place in particular here in town that I absolutely love, and I cannot go there now. And just because I feel so bad for the employees. Like, you just can't do it. It's ridiculous. And you're still asking, like, one employee to cover all these things. Like, what are we doing? And if that was the case here, and I'm just making a huge assumption, but if they're like, why are you taking a phone order? Like, well, because my boss told me that's what I'm supposed to do now. Like, what do you want?
Why are you taking a phone order?
Yeah.
When was this?
I I thought it came out like Sunday. I mean, it's definitely new. They were wearing masks, so
Nice.
And they had that little guard there for the catchers. Didn't protect them really, if anything.
I think I told on the show, but when I was in Jacksonville for UFC in May, when like everything was closed down, there's nowhere you can go. There was like a Waffle House like 25 minutes away, and I was like, I'm going because I just want to go to Waffle House. And I get there. There's 19 cars in the parking lot. There's two people inside, but there's two people inside. I'm like, where are all these people? What are we doing? Like, I think they were all just hanging out in the parking lot somewhere. I couldn't find them. I just had to leave. This is too weird.
I went in October. Last time I went, and they allowed 4 people to eat inside. The 2 people working, obviously, and it was lined up outside that one too. And for phone orders, they were waiting to sit down and eat. It was a very odd. Yeah,
I love Waffle House. So amazing.
We know. That's the place you would rob.
I don't like the food.
If you try to rob it, you saw what happened.
I know, but I don't like the food there.
And they're all cash.
So we're clear.
That's probably a good place to get the cash at 2 or 3 in the morning. Probably get some. If they don't do the drop, you might get some.
Yeah,
get a lot of money out of that.
But just so we're clear,
the waffles.
The food's awful. It's the scene. Like there's always something crazy going on. That's why you go.
Yeah. All right, guys, that was good. Let's wrap it up. AJ, appreciate it. Let's get you on in the future if you're interested, and tell people where they can find you and what's up on Front Office Sports, especially because it's a relatively new company, and you guys, I think, are doing a hell of a job.
Yep. Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're Front Office Sports, frontofficesports.com, at FOS on Twitter. I'm at AJ Perez on Twitter as well. And tomorrow, sign up for the newsletter. I'll put a link to it in the rundown here. And tomorrow's I helped out with the Super Bowl preview, which is a little different from what hopefully others are getting it. So we have an email newsletter twice a day, AM and PM, which I fought for PM to be a little later. So PM comes out around 2 o'clock your time, so it's barely PM. But so it's that's and our website. So
cool, very cool. All right, Justin, Adam, see you.
Good seeing you, AJ. Justin, great job.